Welcome to Grumpy Old Reds, where we are going to be talking about the result yesterday, and were Forest unlucky to not get all 3 points. Hence why we are saying 2 points dropped. We got the Southampton game coming up. We got transfer rumors coming up. We've got injury updates coming up. So much going on and so little time to talk about it. So let's get into it and let's be the Grumpy Old Reds. Good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever in the world you are, whatever time of day you're watching this. Hope you are having a wonderful evening, and I hope you're still smiling from yesterday's game. In today's Grumpy Old Reds episode, we are going to be talking, about Nottingham Forest, I guess, because what else is there to talk about? So we got the usuals on there. We've got an honorary Grumpy Old Red today brought along with us. And I want to jump straight into it. But before I do, please do not forget to hit the like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We've got a lot to talk about. We have with us, Ez, I want to jump to you first and get your take on the game. I'm sure a lot of the guys in the chat have watched the vlog we did. But what I found very interesting was your assessment both at halftime and at full time. And it seemed to be in line with the likes of Ant, which worries me a little. But it also seemed to be quite in line with what I was seeing and what the majority of the chat was seeing. And just give us a quick synopsis of the game, how you saw it and what you felt about it, mate.
Yeah, very much so. The first half, we were so on the back foot and sitting so deep that it wasn't necessary. For me, Chelsea weren't a threat. The goal they scored was from a mistake that we caused. And that's been the majority of the goals we've conceded this season, especially at home, have been caused by mistakes by ourselves. And that was the case again. What frustrated me, and the difference from the game against Crystal Palace, where the perception sitting at home was slightly different to what we got at the ground. Yesterday, there were murmurs, there were people booing and people getting frustrated with just how deep we were, purely because they were.
Just to interrupt you, there was actual booing at the ground for that.
Well, people were moaning. People were, people were making noise when we weren't. Not booing. Sorry, booing probably not the right term, but there was a lot of murmurs.
Disgruntled,
disgruntled fans with the way we were playing in that first half. Because after 20 minutes, it was clear that they were no threat. So we should have pushed up a little bit more, yes, maybe soak it up for the first 20 minutes, but second half was night and day. We came out, we were so much higher up the pitch. Within the first 5 minutes, it was literally just Worrell and Bolly were in our half. Everybody else was in their half. We had them camped in, and the difference in the way we played and the atmosphere, the way the fans got behind it all was, like I said, night and day. It was a real change, and it just shows what we can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that Cooper learns from this. That's how we can play. We don't need to always be on the back foot against these big teams. We've got to be braver at home. Bravery is something we've brought up several times on this podcast, especially coming into these big games against Manchester United and Chelsea. We have to be brave. We have to back ourselves, and we've got game changers in there. Another point that we touched on before, there are players that can change a game, and we know Morgan Gibbs-White being on that team sheet, first of all, gave us all a boost, and second of all, he made a difference in that game. So that's my review of it. But it was a game of two halves, and the second half just showed what we're capable of against these bigger teams because they weren't a threat.
Dino, you've been nodding away. It seems like you're agreeing with what a lot of Ez said. And obviously you were watching it from the same perspective as me. Was there anything outside of what Ez said that you just want to add to that in terms of the game itself? I mean, we were frustrated at halftime, weren't we, with the lack of pressing. I'll ask Ant about Awoni in a second. But yeah, what else did you kind of notice of that game that pleased you really or was improved?
I kind of saw what Cooper was trying to do the first half. He realised that their back four was slow, and we got pace in our front three. So I understand what he's trying to do, and that's only good. The counter attack's only ever going to work with a low block. And then you could see as soon as we got the ball, we tried to push the ball out quickly, certainly to the two wings. And it, when Jono went through with that, I think it was Morgan Gibbs-White that put him through. I thought that was a great ball.
Yeah.
You could just see that what they were trying to play. They were trying to play the counter attack. Personally, I said this yesterday. I'm not a fan of a counter attack at home. I think we should be pressing teams. We've got an 11th man person in the fans. Second half, I love to see press. I love to see us playing higher up the pitch and press. And you could just see on the Chelsea players' faces that they were didn't know how to handle it. And I think you interviewed Charlie, didn't you? You spent some time with Charlie this week, a Chelsea fan, and he was like, kind of nervous a bit if we came at them. And I think we've got to have a go at these teams. I've always said, if we're not getting points, if we're not getting goals, certainly away our form's been terrible. We need to sort of push and press. And what a change the second half. What an absolute revelationary change. We just looked a different team. We looked a top 6 team in the second half.
Yeah.
It could be anybody.
I agree. And I just want to touch on that because I'm not going to lie. As happy as I was at the point, I was frustrated that we haven't done that in the first half or in other games, to be honest, because it clearly shows from watching that second half. We've always said it, haven't we, Ant? We've got a squad. And it's like your halftime analysis, the one on the vlog, summed up how I was feeling because you were just going on about the press there. So I want to ask you about this pressing thing. One, why do you think we didn't start off that way? And then I want to touch on your man of the match. And guys in the chat, remind us again who your man of the match was in there, and we'll shout that out. And also we've got the Q&A open, so get your questions into the Grumpy Old Reds. We won't be doing those at the end. We'll be coming into them so they stay more relevant and more fresh. So get your thoughts and questions in there. But yeah, Ant, just talk to me about the lack of press and then the press that was there in the second half, and your thoughts on Awoni, because I want to get into that as well.
Well, first of all, it's doing my head in being in the wrong place.
Okay.
I've got the Grumpy Old Reds tag. Maybe swap us. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, obviously, as I said in my halftime report, I wanted us to press a lot more. We needed to press a lot more. They're not a particularly good side. One of the interesting things I think is, there's a lot of talk about possession. Chelsea had 80% possession in that first half. And yet I was very really worried that they were actually going to do anything with that possession because they were literally passing it around at the back, passing it around across at midfield, no penetration. Jono should have scored his chance, but there you go. Now, what I did find interesting, and I have to bring this out, is that after the game, I don't believe Cooper sent them out in that first half to not press. And after the game, he said in the first half, we weren't pressing as we should have been. So he could see it.
Completely disagree.
Well, I don't give a shit whether he disagree or not, because he said that. So you're calling him a liar.
I'm not calling him a liar at all. No.
They didn't press in the first half, and when I got them in half time, I told them they need to be more aggressive and press more. And in the second half, it was a totally different game, and we absolutely dominated them, and could and should have won that game. So, if a manager tells players to do something and they don't do it, there's not a lot he can do until half time when he can get into them and say, "You're not doing what I told you to do." And in the second half, he did it.
Can.
Yes, he can. I don't agree with that.
Animated on the touchline.
I don't agree with that.
Someone off as a statement.
Were you watching him for 45 minutes? So I was on the touchline, by the way, because I saw him cheering up and down, pointing and effing and blinding.
So I think he went out with a counter attack in the first half.
No,
100%.
No.
When he realised he'd not had much chances on goal second half. Let me finish, Anne. Let me finish.
Having a low to mid block.
Hold on, Anne. Let Dean finish his point and then jump in. Go on.
Yeah, but I was making my point.
All right, you can make your point back. You can make your point back.
I want to make my point because I haven't finished making my point.
All right, go on.
Having a mid to low block doesn't mean you can't press. The problem was we had a mid to low block and we weren't pressing. That was the problem. There's not a great deal Cooper can do in that first 45 minutes when he's standing there. He can't get on the pitch and say, "Oh, go and press him."
Yeah.
So he had to wait until half time. At half time, he got into them, and in the second half, they followed the instructions.
Dino?
I think, I agree with Ant on that point. I think he definitely set him up for a mid to low block first half, and probably did say press, because I saw some pressers, but only half pressers. As soon as I got to a certain point of our half, sometimes we were pressing, sometimes we weren't. When we pressed, we won the ball back and got it up quickly and counter-attacked. So I definitely think he set up for a counter-attack the first half, and then at half-time we scrapped that without a shadow of a doubt, because we went into a proper home side against the weaker club attitude in the second half. We pushed, we didn't care about their star players. We just pushed and really were on the front foot. So I do agree with you, Ant, there. I don't disagree with you on the fact that he told him to press, but he was telling us to press very low, and he was still counter-attacking in the first half.
I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
What? So you guys are in agreement now?
Of course we are.
As much as we're ever going to be.
I think Dar is raising a very interesting point here, because we are kind of forgetting we were losing at half time, and it's not like once you're losing you can just sit back and the game would just pass you by. Ed, do you agree with that point, or do you think he did actually want to get to half time at 1-0 or 0-0 and then deploy a second strategy in the second half?
I agree that's what he did, but that's not what I wanted him to do. After, like I said, after 20 minutes, it was quite clear they were no threat to us. Koulibaly was awful on the ball. He just needed, as soon as we put pressure on him, his passing was astray, his nerves kicked in, and that's what we needed to do. If he'd done it earlier, I think we could have gone in level at half time. I think they for me were not a threat, and I was happy to see that, obviously, but kind of disappointed as well that we're a goal behind to a team that really haven't threatened us. 80% possession didn't really count for anything, and Crystal Palace had similar amounts of possession in their first half against. I think they had like 70% to our 30. We can be effective, but I agree with Dean that we just weren't in that first half. We were trying to counterattack, but the press wasn't there. They had to be pretty much on the edge of our box before we engaged them. And same thing happened against Manchester United. There was no tackling. I don't know what the booking stats were against Man U, but we didn't get stuck in. And it was the same again first half yesterday. Second half was totally different game. And it just disappoints me that probably 20 minutes of that game we could have spent attacking them and maybe got the win out of that, because we had our chances second half, but I feel we just really missed a chance in the first half to change the game then. And I don't understand why he can't, on the side of a pitch, say, have a plan A and a plan B already drummed into them and say, right, plan B, guys. Why can't you shout that across the pitch? I don't know why you have to necessarily get them back into the changing room and remind them these aren't stupid people. These are, nowadays the players have to have that knowledge about them. Otherwise, they don't last. They don't make it up the levels unless they know tactically what they're supposed to do. So we haven't got
Matt D and Bobby Vegas have mentioned that exact point in the chat as the exact point that you said.
Right. Let Ant respond to it. Was Bobby, wasn't it?
I've never heard such a load of crap in my life. Are you telling me?
Wait. Bring up Bobby's comment.
Are you telling me you've not seen literally God knows how many games where they say game of 2 halves, it changed at half time, the manager got into them, etc. Even the great teams, the manager got into them at half time. They came out a different side in the second half. Fucking hell, are you saying you've never heard that before? Are you crazy?
I'm not saying that.
No,
I'm not saying that.
Crazy.
I'm not saying that at all.
All these people saying the manager can get a word on. Have they been to a Premiership game?
It's
not that simple.
What they're saying is that what the chat's saying. Go on, Des.
No, I was going to say.
Listen, I can tell you something else.
You stop talking. Let us finish.
Charlie, the guy I was with, and I said to him, "You wait, second half. I wish we were kicking out Trent in, because the second half we always go for it." I can give you countless examples of last season when we were shit in the first half and we went crazy and scored 4 goals in the second half. Honestly,
And I can give you countless examples this season where he's made no difference at halftime, and we've come out worse. That was one of the
But he did
first
yesterday.
times.
But he did yesterday. It's yesterday we're talking about.
And let him finish,
Yeah.
Ant. Let him finish. Go on.
Come on. You can be grumpy, but you can be polite as well. Listen,
And old
the
and the
point
red.
is, yesterday wasn't the norm. It's not the norm that we've seen this season. We've said countless times how ineffective he's been at halftime. Yesterday was an exception that proves the rule. It made the difference. But
can I add in there before?
Yeah, go on, Dino.
I was just going to say before Ant responds, because I know he will. Cooper did a good job at halftime because he completely changed the approach.
Yeah.
But what a couple of the chat are saying there, and a few of the chat are saying, and I totally agree with, is why couldn't he do that kind of after the goal or when he realizes that it's not working during the game? And I think, sorry, I can't remember, Matt, I think Matt D said, you know, when one of them comes over to take a throw in, why can't he just say, you know, plan B? And he gets the word around because he's in the middle of the park. And we could have done it earlier. But you know what?
You're telling me the players aren't smart enough to be able to do that?
Why do we get
Well, they follow the manager's instructions, don't they? If he tells them to sit deep, they sit deep.
Okay, another example then. Derby last season at home. He started off, he had Ryan Yates in the back three.
Yeah.
Initially, yeah. It wasn't working. They were getting so much possession on the edge of our box. He changed it, pushed. He did that during the game. So don't tell me he can't do it. My point is, we could all see. That's why there was disgruntlement in the crowd, because we could all see, as opposed to the Crystal Palace game where we could all see the game plan and it was working. Yesterday was a frustration because they were no threat whatsoever. At least with Crystal Palace, they were a threat getting to the edge of our box. They didn't create chances as in shots, but their build-up play to get them there was good. Yeah. I didn't see that from Chelsea yesterday, and you guys can tell me if you saw it any differently on TV. But that first half, as much possession as they had, how much did they really create? They didn't create anything, you know. And that was my frustration, that he could have quite hopefully had the now just turn around to the players and say, push up another 10, 15 yards, because they were way too deep. That's all. Yeah. That would be the game.
By the way, let's just make clear before we go on. We're very happy with the point. Yeah, we're just getting under the bolts of this. Yeah, we're all ecstatic about the point. Bloody hell, halftime, you ought to bit your hand off for a point. But I still think on this point, and you're missing the point. Yeah, I'm saying that he wanted those tactics because those are the tactics he tried to do against Manchester United. He said it after the Man U match that I wanted them to have space in certain areas of the pitch and make others small. He was talking about giving them the possession in their half. Now, in a way, you can understand it with Chelsea because their defense is slow. But when we were talking to Chelsea Fan TV, they were telling us they don't usually play a high line. So pulling them out of their comfort zone, I didn't mind. What I hated was they weren't pressing them when they were in their own pitch. And that, for me, was the frustration in the first half. And then look what happened in the second half when we damn well pressed them. That, for me, was the first time this season. Forget the Liverpool match, yeah? This was the first time in that second half I sat back and I thought, we're a Premier League team. We are playing in the opposition half. We are pressing them. It doesn't matter if you're worth $1 million or 100 million. You get pressed and put under pressure, you are going to make a mistake. And there was so many times when we started pressing them in the second half that they were punting the ball out the pitch or going for a long pass and what have you. It was like, that's the point I'm making.
Can I remind you that in my halftime report, as you said earlier, I said we need to press more. So I am not disagreeing with the fact that we need to press more. The only point I was making is that Cooper, after the match, said he wanted us to press more, but they weren't in the first half. So when he got them in at half time,
that's on him.
That's all I'm saying. And it can happen. And lots of people saying it's easy. Even you guys, it's easy to get them. It's not easy to change stuff mid game like that. It's not that easy. You know, sometimes, like I said earlier, there's countless games that change at half time because the managers got into the players. Countless games. I mean, Liverpool were 3-0 down at half time European Cup final. It happens. You know, and the manager gets
but let's be thankful that he's done it at half time.
Yeah, and
you know what? I think before. So
I do agree. Side. I was frustrated as anybody that we weren't pressing in that first half. I agree 100% with that. So I was
just make sorry, as you go.
I was going to say, I think we're all in agreement that he made the difference. That halftime team talk made the difference. We're all praising him for that. We're not having a go at him for that. We're actually quite happy that that was because both me and Ant came out of that game feeling like a win, didn't it? You know, when I met up with Ant, he had a bigger smile. He was full of joy. You know, and that was infectious because that was the same way. It felt like a win. And my only concern is that if we'd had that extra 20 minutes of going at them in that first half, we could have actually come away with a win. That's my only downside on it because he could have dealt with it sooner. But Dino, go ahead.
It was frustrating. It was frustrating.
Hold on, go on, Dino.
Can I just pick up what Southpaw Reds just said, because that sums this whole thing up. We don't play like a home team at home, and you couldn't say better than that. The second half we played like a home team. Home teams of the past that were, you know, last season, for example. That's how I felt second half of this game.
Yeah.
If we just go from the off at home like that, and even away, we've got nothing to lose away to play exactly the same. Nothing to lose. The grumpy old bastard, you're right. Especially him.
Who are we talking about?
No,
you tell me.
on,
Who are we talking about?
I can't get the finger right. It's because it's all messed up there.
Oh, it's wavering over you, Ed.
Oh, God.
Yeah, well, he wouldn't have been wrong either way, would he?
But he's right. Southpaw Red is absolutely bang on. Home and away, we've got nothing to lose. How many goals we've scored away? How many wins we've got away? We may as well just go for it for the rest of the season, and we'll survive.
I tell you what, on Southampton on Wednesday, I want to see the team play like they did in the second half.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes, they are worried about it.
From the beginning, I want to see them play like this.
We'll come on to Southampton. We'll come on to Southampton.
Sure.
I want to go back to the original question I did ask you. I'm going to move it on to someone else and I'll come to you. I want to talk about the other frustration of the first half for me. And I think you guys shared the frustration. Guys in the chat, I want your opinions on this one as well. Was the whole Awoni left wing thing again? Now, you had him as man of the match. You had him as man of the match as well, didn't you, Awoni? Dino, I can't remember who you went. It wasn't Awoni, was it?
No, I had Aurier as man of the match. But I thought Freuler was very close as well.
Yeah, I had Aurier as man of the match, and I feel Morgan Gibbs-White got forgotten. But anyway, we'll talk about that. But is anyone here in the chat or on this panel? I'm going to open up. Whoever wants to jump in first, raise your hand. Convinced that Awoni is a left winger? No? Okay. So how... All right, let's jump to Ant. We'll start with Ant on this one. How did he end up with your man of the match? And I think he played well. Best game he's had. But I'm just... Talk us through the motions is what I'm saying.
I think you've probably stolen my thunder there. I think it's because for me, it was his best game of the season. He was effective. And the guys on Chelsea Fan TV, they were all raving about him, how he murdered their defence. They just couldn't stand up to him. And I thought he looked quick. I thought he looked aggressive. I thought he held the ball well. I thought he played really well. And it was kind of unexpected in a way. Obviously, Cooper's seen something to give him that left wing because he's played in the last couple of games. I'm not saying I agree with that.
What's he seen? What's he seen?
Well, he's probably seen a better alternative to the ones that are available in his mind. Now, I agree. I'm only saying what I think.
I know you are. I know.
I would still obviously have him down the middle. I mean, I think probably we all would. But I just think because he had such a good game by what we've seen previously, that's probably what swayed me. Because I mean, I agree 100%. Aurier is magnificent. You know what I mean? And MG Dub, some of the balls he played with, and the shot he had, fabulous. You know, and Freuler, great game by Freuler. So I wouldn't disagree with any of those. But if you have to pick one, I'd give it to Taiwo because he played better than expected in a position that's not actually his position.
You know what? I watched the Chelsea fan. You know, Charlie, who you interviewed. I watched his stream today, and he had people coming in, you know, from Chelsea fans. It was like a talk. It's a bit like this, really, but a talking from the fans. And they actually said the same thing about Awoni. They said they ripped us apart in the second half down the left wing. I mean, I didn't see it so much myself. I did see him have a decent game, definitely. But I think a lot of players had a good game in the second half. Freuler played so much further up, you know. But you know, they were like really, really. If we think we're depressed and grumpy, you ought to have seen that stream. And I'd swap places with them tomorrow.
Well, yeah,
you know?
I bet it was less argumentative, to say the least.
They're all too nice.
Yeah, because Ez, I want to shout out to Mark, because Mark on the vlog was saying the same thing. He wanted Awoni down the middle, and I think when Awoni went down the middle, he was pretty solid, man. But I think whatever position he played there, he was targeting Koulibaly, which I think was the key to it. Koulibaly is just not at the races yesterday, and Awoni had him on toast. So going forward, is he a striker or is he a left winger? End the debate for us, mate.
Well, obviously he's a striker, and he'll always be a striker. This formation that Cooper's persisting with, his false nine, is to get the best out of Morgan Gibbs-White. That's purely what it's down to. He's the key man in this formation. Once we got Morgan Gibbs-White's fit and playing, he makes a difference, and the players are made to fit around him. I agree with what Ant said. I think of the players available in position of one year is the best bet at the moment. What I liked about him yesterday was, I've seen in the past when he's had these games, his head goes down, and often he's one of the first to be subbed off. Yesterday he didn't. Yesterday he kept his head up, and that second half, his performance was key. His performance was key to us getting up the field and being camped in their half for most of the half. It was disappointing because they were opposite end, because first time for a long time we weren't attacking the Trent end in the second half, as Ant mentioned on our way home. And it does make a difference. So most of the game was in their half, and it was, you know, on the opposite end of the field to me. But what Awoni did in that game changed the game for me. So that's why. But it could have been honestly a number of 4 or 5 players, and you got to put Gibbs-White in there. Aurier, Bolly had a very good game. Freuler, as we've all mentioned, there was at least 4 or 5 that were contenders for man of the match.
Loddy played well as well.
Loddy played well.
He split the polls yesterday. He split the polls. A lot of people were blaming him for the goal.
What, Loddy? His reaction was slow from all of them. The goalkeeper to Loddy to, you know, it was in slow motion. We couldn't believe what was actually happening. We didn't realize what had actually happened. There was a few players to blame for the game of statues that went on there, because they didn't react quick enough. But it wasn't his best game, but he wasn't bad. He wasn't bad at all. I do think in the Man U game he was carrying an injury, so maybe still not 100%. But he was the best player to play in that position. What I'd like to see is what we saw in the Blackburn game, where he played, I refer to it as like a lopsided front three, where Awoni was actually down the middle, Lingard was playing that number 10 role, and Johnson was out on the wide on the left. When you've got somebody like Loddy who can bomb up and down the left, you can play that. So I don't see why you can't have a more central role. But like you mentioned, he definitely, once he did that, he had Koulibaly on toast, and I wish he'd been able to be up against Luke Shaw in the Man United game, because he would have had him for toast as well. It's frustrating. But
Dino, I just want to bring this question to you, because you mentioned earlier Freuler was close to being your man of the match.
Yeah.
Trevor Francis tracksuit saying you lot rave about Freuler. He was crap again in the first half. He was better in the second half, but in my opinion, he was still nothing special. He's one of our least effective players. And this is the drum that bloody Darren Fletcher's been beating as well. But Dino, you bigged him up, so you get first crack at Trevor Francis's tracksuit.
Trevor Francis tracksuit, yeah. Okay, so before yesterday, I tend to agree with him in terms of it gets to 90 minutes and you think, well, what did Freuler do? I can't name 2 or 3 good things that he did during the game, but I actually think he does a lot that you don't notice. And in particular against Chelsea, I actually watched him quite closely because he was sitting in that CDM role, which I don't agree with him playing. And I actually watched him play, and he broke up. So if you could get hold of the replay and watch it, and just watch him when the ball's around him, you'd be surprised how much he does. Tackles that he was putting in was immense, all over the place. And
there's a couple of them that were
still at the end of the game. I thought I could have gone by that game and said, "What has he done?" but he did make a lot of big tackles.
Mm.
A lot.
Yeah,
We used to have a player called John McGovern. He used to get dogs abuse for
He did, yeah.
from Forest fans. And
People thought he was like,
Brian Clough and Peter Taylor were fair judges of player. Took him everywhere they went.
Yeah,
and he won
everywhere.
league championships with the scum down the road. He won league and European cups with us as our captain. And yet there were a lot of people, not until years later did people start saying, oh yeah, John McGovern, he was a good player. And every time, it's the old story, every time John McGovern wasn't in the team, that's when you noticed him. And I think it's similar with Freuler. If you took him out of the team, you'd notice that he wasn't there.
Yeah, he's a bit of a weird one because he doesn't do anything spectacular, does he? And I think that's why you don't notice him. Like Morgan Gibbs White does a spectacular pass, or he hits the bar and it bounces just outside of the line. And we notice things like that as football fans. I think and I think this is where Yates has kind of had some criticism over the last few years. He's done a lot of work that people just don't notice because we don't look that deep sometimes into a match. But Freuler, I really, really did spend time looking at him yesterday, and I thought, wow, okay, I hadn't had him as a CDM, but I really did eat my words yesterday when I saw him.
Yeah. I want to mention one point as well. Sorry, Anthony, you can come in. He played higher in the second half. That just ends the thing for me. He was pulling the strings. He nearly got the assist for Iwoni when he put him through on his left foot. And
that was the point I was just about to make.
Go on, you take over because I want to put a poll up for the chat.
I just want
to get a poll up to the chat to ask them what they thought of Freuler. Was he good or was he crap? So we'll make it as technical as that. So go on, Ant.
No, I was just going to say, we've all been complaining all season that he's been playing too deep. So the guy's being criticised when he's not playing the role that he was born to play. So yesterday, he was allowed a little bit more of that role, and he showed that that's where he's best at. We've been saying it all season, haven't we?
Keep going. I'm still typing.
Yeah. I'm done. I'm spent after that rant I had earlier on.
Well, I argued for it, didn't I? We had this debate because we were talking. You guys wanted Mangala as a CDM, and I said,
yeah,
Freuler is more. You said, yeah. But my argument was that he's more disciplined. He stays in his position. Yesterday, I agree with everything Dino said about his assessment of his performance. And he did make some important tackles, some really important last-ditch tackles as well, which if he hadn't got right, one, he would have conceded a foul, and two, they would have been straight in on goal. So he played an important role yesterday, breaking up the play. And in the second half, we saw him. He makes those passes that when he makes the forward for me, it's key one. But the little passes he does is in between. It opens up space because the runs continue beyond him. It is worth analysing his performance yesterday because I think it was underrated by those who don't really pay attention to it. And very much like what Ant said, he's a John McGovern type player sometimes. You don't notice him until he's not there. And I think he's key to how we want to play at the moment. Go on.
He's a similar player to Nico Williams. And a few games back, I was like, Nico Williams can't tackle, he can't tackle. And then I saw some stats and he was the best tackler, best interceptor and best blocker in terms of stats in the team.
Is he really?
Yeah. Yeah, well, he was at the time. That was obviously a few games ago, but I couldn't believe it because my perception of him is he's a bit lightweight, and he's, he doesn't tackle well. But
did I read a stat somewhere that Freuler is almost always the player that in our team that runs the most during the game?
Yeah, I don't know who runs the most, but he's almost like somebody put it in the comments earlier. He's almost like the invisible man,
or covers the most ground, I should say. Rather,
yeah,
than
I think you're right. I've seen that
before. Thomas Partey. He kind of sits in this channel, doesn't he? From defensive midfielder, he doesn't really go out to the wings, and he sits in that narrow channel. Never really going past the cam position. And that's his area. He dominates that area, but he doesn't do anything spectacular. And he goes through games where you just don't notice him. If you watch him, he puts in so many tackles and great passes, and he's just a dictator. That's Partey. And I think Freuler's a similar player. You just don't notice him.
I think Partey can play deeper than Freuler can. Partey can do that CDM sitting, in my opinion.
He's big, isn't he?
No, I was just going to say, again, he's one of those players that you find that a bit like Yates, managers always play them. And all the fans are saying, what's he play for? Why is he play? Why is he play? But all the managers that ever manage them always play them. And there's a reason for that, because they appreciate the work that they do that's not glamorous and not, something that everybody sees all the time. Yeah. It's one of those
would you guys agree that it's kind of been forced on us? Although Kouyaté wasn't playing in that position anyway, that was what he was initially bought for. Kouyaté was bought as a CDM and just didn't seem to work out that way. And with Freuler's, he's not getting any younger, put it that way. I think, is he 30, 31 now?
He's in his 30s, yeah. He's 30.
Maybe that's a role that he wants now in his career, a more quarterback type role where he is sat back. He isn't really.
He's not doing that. He's not doing that for Switzerland, though, is he? Yeah.
No, he's not.
Like we just said, he's more ground than anybody else, so he's not.
Yeah, but international football, the pace of international football, you can't compare to the Premier League. So you can get away with playing slightly higher for the Swiss national team than he can for Forest. That's just how I see it. But yeah, I'd like to see your opinion, guys, because I think that's what he's been forced into that role, to be honest.
Go on, Dino.
We've mentioned Yates a couple of times in this conversation about, people took a while to understand the role he does in the club. I'm going to plug the High Press, FFTV High Press now. So today I've done an interview with Jacob, who is a reporter for The Athletic, and he's also a Southampton fan. So that's going to be available tomorrow for everybody to see. But one of the questions that I asked him was, which player would you take from Forest? And obviously mine was Ward-Prowse, because he's kind of nobody else.
Easy one, that one.
and his was Yates.
Really?
And even Morgan Gibbs-White, and but the funny thing is he'd not heard of Scarpa, so I had a bit of a laugh about that. Yeah. He'd not heard of Scarpa, so
good. I hope
you take Yates. So
not yet.
And he said you called him a functional player, and I think that's what Freuler is. He's a functional player.
Yeah, I've got to say, Yates has really impressed me in recent times. I've given him stick in the Fulham game when he deserved it for the mistakes he's made. But what I love to see in a player is someone who picks themselves up, fix their mistake, the errors they were making, and shows improvement. I get this whole the whole desire and blood, guts, and glory with him is all well and good, but I still want a player who can play. And I think he gets done a disservice when he's just tagged with those standard stereotypes on him. People need to respect the improvement he's made from the start of the season to now, and he's really winning me over, and I'm really been impressed with him. He's still got other areas to improve in, but he's the kind of player that will sit there and work away on improving it. So keep him going is what I say.
I think with Yates,
he was drinking orange juice, buddy. Or thinking orange juice.
With Yatesy, last season, he when he scored his goals, he scored them in bursts, didn't he? Like he scored 2 or 3 games, and they were usually key goals as well. I think again it'll be the same this season. Once he gets his first one, he'll get a couple, and his confidence will grow. But I think that's one main thing missing from his game so far this season. Yeah, his finishing and just being a threat. We've seen a couple of 50p headers this season. The goal that was disallowed against Man U wasn't going in had it not been for Bolly's foot interfering. So it's still something he needs to work on again. But I think once the first one goes in, you'll get and his confidence will grow. But what I don't mind about criticizing Yates is he'll always come back. He always gets better. He takes a lot of crap, and he has done throughout his career, rightly and wrongly at times, mostly wrongly. But he's always come back stronger, and that's what defines him as a player and the type of player he is.
The kind of guy that I think would have watched our video. Well, I'm not saying he's watched them, but if he saw our videos where after the Fulham game, for example, and I think he would take it in the right way and say they got a point there. I don't agree with that, but I can work on it. Not that we know anything about football. Sure. But I want to move on to Bolly in a second, because I want to know if I was too harsh on him or not. Before I do, I want to bring in some of the questions. We got an absolute crap load of questions to get through. So let's bring some up here. Kwame is asking, do you think Lodi plays better against better players? That is an absolute cracking question. Ant.
I think Lodi is better when he's allowed to go forward, when he's playing against a team he can go forward in. I think that's when we see the best of him. I thought yesterday, I've seen some people in the chat. And by the way, chat's fantastic. I love to see the opinions in the chat, because you'll have one person say, Bolly's crap. The next one say, Bolly's brilliant. Is that, there's so many different views. It's fantastic.
The only thing they tend to agree on is their opinion on you, Ant. But yeah.
Yeah, that's unanimous, mate. No debate,
Fair comment. Fair comment. Yeah, I thought he played well yesterday. I thought his forward play yesterday was really good. I thought he put some good balls in and got down that wing. So when he's playing against a team where he can do that, I think that's when he's most effective. I'm not absolutely sure about him when we're under pressure and he's against a flying winger constantly. But there are a lot of fullbacks these days.
He did well against Sterling yesterday, mate. I thought he had Sterling
yesterday, mate. He was dire.
Yeah, but why was he dire?
Yeah, but you got to give Lodi credit for that. You got to give Lodi credit for that.
Hey, listen, I'm not going to argue with you. Absolutely. I love the guy. I love Lodi. So,
Can someone clip that? He just said he's not going to argue with me. I've never heard that line before. Clip it, please.
I'm playing back in about 20 seconds.
On repeat.
Yeah. But there are a lot of fullbacks these days, aren't there? You hear it often now. People are going in for an £80 million fullback, and it's always great going forward. Not so good on defence, but great going forward. It's a kind of common thing these days. Old-fashioned fullbacks are pretty much gone.
Yeah, completely agree. Let's bring some of these other questions in as well. I've just read one, so we're not coming there. Adam says, why are Forest struggling away from home? Are they scared or something? I'll give that one to Dino.
Mental. I mean, really, we've got... The thing is, away... If we had no away fans and it was silent and it was their fans, like, quite intimidating atmosphere, you'd understand it. But we've got the best away fans in the country in whatever division. I don't care. Anybody could argue that with me. They're incredible, right? So, Wolverine, you were at Man City with me away and you couldn't hear the Man City fans, and I was sitting right in the middle of them, right? All you could hear was Forest fans. 6-0 down, all you could hear was Forest fans. Yep. So the fact that, we create almost an intimidated environment where we out-sing their fans a lot of the time should mean that we can actually go on that front foot. The grass is the grass. It's the same grass and it's the same ball. I really think it's a mental thing. We've got to play away, and we've got nothing to lose now. Play away like we do, or like we did yesterday at home in the second half. And I think if we do that, we can actually start climbing the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before you do, and Ben's got an interesting. It annoys me because fans always need a scapegoat. Yeah, other players have poor games, and you get lambasted for criticizing them. Lolly last season, for instance, he was poor, but no criticism. I mean, what we will always do here, Ben, is we don't care what people think about what we think about. So if we think someone was good, we'll say they were fantastic. If we think they were crap, we'll say the same thing. And that's why we like to keep it honest here. Sorry, Ant, go on, jump in.
Yeah, I was just very quickly going to say, following on from Dino's point about the atmosphere and away from, I did notice I've watched 2 or 3 Chelsea vlogs, and they mentioned as soon as our team plays against in a stadium with an intimidating, aggressive atmosphere. So, shows you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next question. This is a regular question, but it's from Miski. Ez, this is for you. Would you take Spence back? Is there space for him now?
Yes, and a million times yes. Oh yeah, I love Jed Spence. I'm sorry. I'll squeeze him in somewhere. He needs to come. I want him back. Even if Sorry, I should have just thought that and not actually said it out loud.
Yeah, you should have thought before you opened your mouth, to be honest.
Maybe I just got too much of a man crush on him, but yeah, I want Jed back. Just because it's annoying me. I wouldn't mind if he was playing and getting a chance at Spurs. That's what's breaking me more than anything else. But
you couldn't play him and Aurier 50-50 games, could you? Because they'd both probably be unhappy.
Where are you going to squeeze him in as?
You know what? I'd put him down the wing. I think
Right
he's
wing?
yeah.
So you
But
leave
no, maybe-
Scarpa out. You leave Scarpa out.
Scarpa's going in the middle. Scarpa's going in the middle.
What about Morgan Gibbs
So
White?
you drop Morgan
I'm
Gibbs
pushing
White
Morgan
then.
Gibbs White across to the
You're
left.
just shifting everybody around. Yates will be in
Moving
goal
one-
soon.
Yeah,
one
Yates
space
being
across.
goal. Yeah, Yates in goal.
Yeah, can we
Please
not have
help,
Sack-
Wolverine. Please help. He's
All
got
right, stop. We
delete that
got to
question.
get on feds. I can't after what he just said. I actually forgot to mention one point on Lodi. I'm going to bring this back to seriousness now. Based on what you said, Ant, about you liked him attacking, yeah? And we've got this whole Owoni issue. We've got the issue of apparently Dennis leaving, which I think is bollocks, but we'll get into it in a little bit, yeah? Would you consider Lodi as a left winger?
No. Not
Okay,
unless
please remember this is going on the podcast as well, so you must speak and not just shake
Yeah.
your head.
Yeah, sorry. If we were desperate and we had nobody else, then I'd have no worries about trying him out there. But he's not a left winger, you know.
All right, Dino?
He's not got. He's not a dribbler.
I actually said this earlier on in the season when I saw Lodi, and I agree with you, Ant, that he doesn't. There's no fullbacks that can proper tackle anymore that I can see. They're all almost wingers, aren't they? The deep wingers. That's what fullbacks are nowadays. So whether you call them fullbacks or whether you call them wing backs, it doesn't matter. They're expected to overlap and get down the flanks.
Yeah,
I see Lodi as a better attacker and crosser, and that goal he scored, the curler, he's got a finish of him with his right foot, his non-natural foot. I see him as a left winger potentially, and we've struggled down there. Obviously Dennis isn't. It looks like Dennis is on the way out now.
Yeah,
according to all reports. So he's just not fit the club for whatever reason. We'll probably never know. So why not Lodi?
I think it's maybe because I've still got this like mindset where a winger dribbles past, and maybe that's not part of the modern day thinking. Maybe just push and run is okay, but I don't think that Lodi is a particular dribbler. Do you know what I mean?
How many dribblers are in this league though now?
I'm saying maybe
they're all pace merchants, aren't they? A lot of them.
Yeah,
I mean,
may be right.
Saka maybe can dribble. Ronaldo's been a amazing dribbler in the past. When he was fitter and when he played on the wing for United. But a lot of them now are just speed merchants.
Yeah, you got to remember, I'm from the John Robertson era, so
me too. And he wasn't fast.
No, he wasn't.
Was he? But every time he got the ball, you could. Sorry, the younger people in chat, but every time he got the ball, you could. Not you. You're 21.
He was before my era. Whatever you want to say.
Right. So whenever he got the ball, Robbo, how many men was on him? 3 every time. 3 men went to him, and he just dribbled it past all of them, and he had no.
He kind of walked past them, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
And there'd just be defenders at the back. You think, how did that happen? Anyway, sorry, we're reminiscing.
You digress a little. I just want to bring it back to the point because I kind of agree here with Ant, believe it or not, but he's still wrong in what he's saying. He is a left back, but the modern game now isn't about dribbling. That's where I'll agree with Dean. What you'll get a lot is the left backs or the right backs overlapping. Yeah, so the design of them is to overlap with the ball played in front of them. It's the whole speed merchant thing, as you're saying, and their crossing needs to be spot on. So it's not necessarily about them having the ability to dribble. That's why I think Lodi is better as a left back who's overlapping. Now, it's the first time, apart from the Spurs Cup game, where we've seen Lodi overlapping that second half. And we saw him starting to come into his own. And for me, we need to see way more of that. And you got Aurier on the other side who can do it. These are 2 fantastic fullbacks we've got.
Yeah, but that's why Cooper bought Lodi and Nico, because neither of them are traditionally good tacklers. But he was determined on a 3 centre backs, wasn't he? And I'm sure that he wasn't looking at playing with wingers, and he was going to play with high up wing backs, and that's probably why they came to the club.
Yeah,
and then he realised the 3 at the back was just putting too much pressure on us. Yeah. He reverted to 2, and that brings these 2 back a bit. And that's why Oreo, that's what Mylene calls him. Aurier, by the way. I can't believe what you've done that to me. Aurier, by the way, is better because he's traditionally a better tackler, isn't he? But he's got it coming forward. But he's a proper fullback, Aurier.
He
Yeah,
is. Eds, wrap up on this convo, and then we're going to move on to Bolly.
Yeah, just a point about Lodi. He can. I think he can play that role. He can definitely be further up the pitch. There was a point I was going to make on it. Yeah, one thing that hindered his play yesterday is with Bolly being in the left centre back role, he's not left-footed, and there was so many occasions where McKenna in that role, McKenna can pass the ball forward, and he can play some splitting passes as well. We've seen it on several occasions last season and a couple of times this season as well. It really hampers because Lodi makes some great runs, gets in so much space, but Bolly hasn't got the Bolly hasn't got the skills or the confidence to play that pass straight to him, and often he's cutting it back in, he's playing it back to Worrell, and then it's coming back, and the chance is lost. But amazing runs from the position that I was watching it from. He just doesn't get the ball because there isn't a confidence of that left-footed centre back to play to him without somebody else or playing it back and forth. But he gets in position. He can have a bigger effect, I think, once
That's
McKenna's
a great question.
Yeah, I'm going to go around all three of you. Dino, you can go first.
You start off.
Now, just so everyone understands, it's not 30 million. We've already paid 5 mil up front as a loan fee, which would come off the 30 mil. So in essence, the question is, would you pay a further 25 mil for Lodi Dino? Yes or no?
How old is he?
Good question. Mid-20s.
23.
From what I've seen so far, I mean, if he's 22, 23, maybe, but from what I've seen so far, not overly impressed.
Okay. That's still not answering the question.
No, then. From what I've seen so far, no. I'm not flip-floppy.
Right. Number one.
This has to be a poll question as well. I'm sorry. Let me ask the poll while you answer, and we're going to do a would you pay it? It's a lovely question from NFFC.
Number one, it's not my money. Having said that, if it prevents us buying a player in another position that we need more, then obviously it needs thinking about. My natural reaction is he's 23, 24 years old, Brazilian international, from what I can see, a fabulous football player. This day and age, 25, 30 million for a good international player is nothing. Correct. Seriously. Chelsea are paying 100 and how many million? You know, they paid
50 mil for Cucurella. 50 mil for Cucurella.
They paid 60 million for Cucurella. Are you telling me he's better than Lodi? I don't think he is. So
he's not international though, is he? He didn't make the World Cup, so he's excellent.
He has played a game for Brazil, so that counts as an international.
He's played, yeah.
And not only that, as I say, in this day and age, that's not a lot of money for a Premier League to pay for a Premier League club. So on that basis, his age, his potential, what I've seen so far with that potential, I would pay that. Yeah.
Ez?
You have to make a decision now, or can we? Have we got until the end of the season?
You do.
No, I mean,
Now. I'll get your ladder and climb down off that fence, and then you can make the decision.
No, because if Forest don't have to make that decision right now, there's no need to even think about it right now. They can wait till the end of the season.
You're not Forest. You're being asked by NFFC 1865.
Okay, if I'm answering NFFC 1865, then I wouldn't right now, based on what I've seen so far. No,
but he'll probably come good.
Can I just put a clause in as well? I think that's 30 million euros, not 30 million pound. So it is a little bit of difference, not much.
So another 25. It's going down by the minute. What about you?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Well, the chat are saying at the moment 55% are saying yes, 45% are saying no. I'm 100% with Ant, but everyone's going to say you got Lodi goggles. I have, because he's 22, 23. He's already broken. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He's got a long future age
because it all depends on the age. If he was 25, 26, then no. If he's got time to grow, because players don't really mature properly till
he's 24
anyway, in the peak.
He's 24.
All right,
and he's come from a different country.
Didn't speak the language.
He's a Brazilian by birth. So coming to this shitty old country with the weather can't be easy. and
Exactly.
he, moving in and stuff like that. So you often find players go to a club and have a bad first season and have a better second season, don't you?
Let me put it this
we'll
way:
see.
Nico Williams cost £17 million. So
Correct.
if you look back to euro, it's not a great deal of difference.
Mm.
And I've not been that
Yeah.
impressed with Williams, if I'm honest with you. But
On and
that's
off, I
just my
think Williams.
I
He's
quite
on-
like Nico Williams. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, I think he had a good World Cup, didn't he? He looked good in the World Cup for them.
He did.
All right, let's. I asked this about 40 minutes ago. I said we're going to talk about Bolly in a second, and we never got on to it. Yeah. I want to ask. I'll start with you, Dino, because you were in the player ratings with me. Was I too harsh on Bolly? I scored him a 6 out of 10 yesterday. Guys in the chat, was I harsh? And if so, what was your score for Bolly? So get that in the chat. We'll shout a few of them out. Dina, was I too harsh on Bolly with a 6?
I think you were with a 6. I gave him a 7, and I gave Worrell a 6.5 because I don't know whether you were skewed with the goal. If you watch the goal closely, there's not a lot he could have done with that ball across. He looked like he scorpion kicked it over the keeper, but he was off balance. He just tried to get a foot on it to get it out, and it was a free goal, and it came over the top. I blame more the goalkeeper and Lodi, Hendo and Lodi, for just watching it like they're watching a movie. So I think he was good in the air. He put some good tackles in. We know he's not the quickest, but I thought it was okay. But I think Sai was at the game, and Sai said he was absolutely brilliant.
Sai was buzzing off him, wasn't he?
Yeah. But he probably saw things we didn't see because I watched it on TV and not live in the game.
Yeah. And you were at the game. Was 6 too harsh on Bolly?
Yeah, personally, I think it was. I think he had a really good game. And the goal, I absolutely attribute no blame at all for that goal. I mean, that's just a freak goal. Players in the box, they always stick the leg out. You got to try and stop the ball. The ball was behind him. He tried to get a foot on it. The chances of that happening again are very, very negligible, aren't they? That it's going to loop up and hit the bar like that from that angle. So I don't blame him at all for the goal. And aside from that, I thought he had a really good, solid game. And I would not argue with anything 7 or 8. I would not argue with that at all. I think
positionally he was better than Worrell. I thought Worrell lost his marker too many times yesterday. Who was marking?
Bolly was, in my opinion, Bolly was certainly the better centre half yesterday.
Okay. Ez, 6 too harsh?
Yeah, from my perspective, from what I saw, I think that was harsh. They didn't really. The goal, I wouldn't agree with, and I would agree with, and wouldn't blame him for the goal. I would blame the lack of reaction from the goalkeeper and the defenders. I would have probably scored him 7.5, maybe 8. I think he had that much, especially in the second half. There were no threat. Even throughout the game, they weren't really much of a threat. He was solid. He was towering. He got the assist for goal. He made a difference. And I thought your score was a little harsh. But we've had it before where seeing it on TV and seeing it at the stadium, you don't get all the nuances. You don't understand. You don't pick everything up.
It's true.
Yeah. So,
I just have to say,
I'll let you off.
Niakate is on the way back. Niakate is on the way back.
Yeah, it's 2023, isn't it?
Well, we updated the guys about 2 months ago on it. It's meant to be the end of the month. I'll do a full full injury and transfer update in the video tomorrow, so don't miss that. Can I remind everyone just to hit the like button? We got like 140 odd of you in here. We're sitting on 57 likes. Thank you to everyone who's hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and also please follow the 2 Twitter accounts we have. The one that is being run by the High Press team is going to be so important over the next month. With transfer window now open, you won't want to miss a story, and all the stories will be on the High Press. It's at FFTV High Press. Yes, yeah. On Twitter. And then if you want to follow our main Twitter account, it's at official FFTV. So please do follow those if you're on Twitter, and just banter away with us and ask us any questions you do have. Okay, boys.
Can I just
Go on.
reiterate a quick comment from Simon? It's but if you see Bolly in real life, he is massive, and he is massive. He is a huge guy. He's so imposing. You know, it's. I don't think I can't remember another player like that. He's just huge. Anyway,
Yeah,
no,
absolutely. Okay, should we do a couple of questions from the chat? Get the chat involved. So, chat, get your questions in there. Let's start with Chock-a-Block, who says, which 3 Forest players did well at school in your estimation? In other words, who learns the most? Oh, God. So let's start with the most educated one here, which would be... Which would be... Dino. I was just going through the process of elimination.
Cheers.
Who sounds less stupid is what he means.
Oh, we all sound stupid. It's just, you're right. Who sounds less stupid? Who are you waiting for?
You.
Please say it. I think the most intelligent at school, probably Yates. Probably not so much intelligent, but that's just that hard trier. It was just that went into school and he was just rubbish, and he just learned very, very quickly through hard work. I think he would be my. He'd get all the teachers' pets award, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Ez, would you agree or pick someone else? He said Yatesy.
Yeah.
Yatesy. I would go with Serge. He looks like, he looks like he was proper prim and proper at school. He was probably a prefect or something like that, and he just carried it on. He seems like one of those people that if you met him in public, he'd be suited and booted and just look the part. So I'll go with probably Serge. Yeah, I've got a man crush on him now as well. So
I'd go.
Move on.
And who are you saying?
I go with Yatesy. I certainly think he's try hardest. And Scarpa, because he comes across as an intelligent guy.
He is intelligent.
And Freuler, because he speaks about 24 languages.
That's who I was going to go with.
That's a good call.
All right. Let's do one more question, then we'll move on to talk about Southampton. Jason asks, oh my God, they're obsessed with Spence. We can only go to one person with this question. It has to be his boyfriend Ez. Can Spence play at left back?
He put him anyway.
Should we re-quote him? I would squeeze him in somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not gonna live that down. No, I wouldn't have him at left back, bro. No, I'd get the best out of him if we're gonna have him at all. So no, I wouldn't push him across the left back.
All right, cool. All right, let's. So, guys, keep those live questions coming in. We'll keep dipping into them and keeping you guys, as always, involved in Forest Fan TV. Couple of shout outs. Thank you so much to Sharky for becoming a 4-month member now. You absolute legend. Brinley as well, bringing up his 3-month membership. You guys are getting closer to the gold badge. Keep it going. Thank you so much. And if you want to become a member, please do hit the join button down below. It's only 99p on the silver membership. And thank you to, well, Oh My. Not only is he modding, but he's membering. Thank you so much. Everyone give Oh My some hearts in the chat, because he does such a fantastic job taking care of us, and meaning we can focus on what you're saying and obviously keep the conversation moving on.
Oh My is our mother.
Yes, yeah. I have other words for him, but we'll go with the one I can air. You're muted us.
There's a couple of people saying about Scarpa, just quickly. Yes, Scarpa can play against Southampton. Whether Cooper is in Cooper's plans because he's not gone through the programme yet, we don't know. But yes, he can play. He's eligible to play.
It's my first question about Southampton is going to be, of course, about Scarpinia. I am so excited, man. I cannot wait for Wednesday, as you're going to be there and you're going to see him in the flesh. But I ain't coming to you first. I'm going to my fellow Scarpiniite. I don't know if that's even like a feasible word. And straight in the team, no questions asked.
Whether I would or whether I think Steve Cooper will.
Both. Oh, and that's going to be another poll question. Would you chuck him straight in? Go on, Ant.
Yeah, of course I'd chuck it straight in. He'd be the first name on the sheet, but I think he'll be on the bench.
Well, you don't get to answer it that simply. The chat do. They get a yes/no option. If you're going to say yes, you're going to have to follow it up with
Because
who does he
he's
replace?
Because he's Brazilian Player of the Year. He just won the Brazilian Championship. He's one of the most exciting players I've seen on YouTube. I know I've not seen him in real life. And I'm just thoroughly excited by the guy, and I think he can do fantastic things. I mean, even the games for Forest that he's played, to me, he's looked our best player as soon as he comes on the pitch. So, yeah, why not? Why shouldn't he play?
Did you not see him in the friendly when
Yeah.
he came on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He
The
was
games I've
brilliant.
seen him play for us, he's best player on the pitch when he comes on. So why not?
Because you still haven't answered the second part of the question.
I did. I said I think Cooper put him on the bench.
The third part of the question. For whom?
Well,
If you
put him
played
in the
No,
team.
if you play, yeah.
Oh, it's got to be Jono, hasn't it?
Mm.
Yep.
Can't say much more than that. You've asked me who, and I've told you.
You know what? Hold on a sec. Let's think about this. Yes, he plays most of the time on his right, and he can obviously play cam, but he's also played left back. So why can't he play that left wing? Because that's where we've got problems. Obviously, he doesn't fancy Dennis.
I thought you were going
play
to
left wing,
Loddy with
cutting
him
in with his right foot. Huh?
Dino,
I thought you were going to replace Loddy for him. He can play left back, put him in Loddy's
Yeah,
place.
but we're talking Scarpa now. Loddy has to move back to left back again.
Dino, you don't understand how strong a nail you've hit on the head. I think the talk of this Dennis stuff, even though I'll get into it tomorrow, we may touch on it in a little bit, but he's coming in to replace Dennis on the left because Lingard is out for a month. I guarantee you Scarpini plays on the left if he starts.
Wouldn't surprise
And
me.
Jono will still make the team. And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Jono was poor yesterday. He really was poor. So you stumbled on it beautifully because I was doing the maths on it. Awoni cannot keep playing on the left unless Cooper's going to do a Cooper. Jack, thank you so much for the £2 donation. Scarpa in for Jono or Lingard. Yeah, I mean, my first choice is with Ant. It's Jono, 100%. But the rumors of this Dennis thing, which I'm not convinced about, Lingard being injured. Ez, would you chuck him straight in?
I would. I'm looking forward to seeing him. I'm hoping
He's
he
going
makes
all the
his
way to
debut.
Southampton to see him.
I know. It's a long way to go. But I think the excitement's building for him. We spoke to a couple of fans yesterday in the fan zone, and they were buzzing for Scarpa. We wanted to see. We were kind of hoping that he'd be unveiled yesterday, but he wasn't. From what he wasn't, was he, Ant? Because I was chatting to Mark, so I didn't see what. But I would have heard it if Scarpa came on the pitch. I definitely would have heard it. Yeah, so he wasn't unveiled yesterday. I'm hoping we see his debut. I would start him, and I think he'll probably will. I kind of agree with you. I think I see him on the left. I see him. I think that's why Awoni got as many minutes as he did. Apart from the fact that I do think he was influential yesterday. Normally, Cooper doesn't give him more than 60, 65, and he played a good 80-odd yesterday. Maybe let him have that run out, but he's got the anticipation. Either he's going to start against Southampton and come off early for Scarpa to come on, or Scarpa makes the start. I think he's got to be on the bench regardless. I would like to see Cooper be brave because I think Southampton are there for the taking. And as Dino alluded to, they've not heard of him yet. They're probably not aware. The fans certainly won't be how much the coaching team will be, but he could be a secret weapon. And let's use it in a game that we need to win. I'm confident that we need to win that game. We'll go into it a bit more, but let's do it. Let's not be scared anymore, and especially away from home. Let's not, go on.
Yeah, Dino, do we need Scarpini to beat Southampton? I mean, you've had...
No, I don't think we
just
need
to
him to
remind
beat...
everyone, sorry, just before you jump in,
Yeah.
Dino's done a fantastic interview, as you mentioned earlier, with The Athletic. We're going to have that for you tomorrow. The the reach we're getting at the moment, we're talking to The Athletic, we're talking to loads of other people to bring you guys the content. So, and all we ask from you is you keep liking and subscribing and just watching and feeding back to us about the content, because we want this content to be relevant to what you guys want to watch. So, Dino, on that note, do we need Scarpini to beat Southampton?
No, I don't think we do. I think, you know, talking to one of the journalists at The Athletic, who's a Southampton fan, which we'll see tomorrow on video in the full extent of it, they were worried about Forest, and they'd take quite a few of our players. You know, if given a choice, they'd take quite a few of them. They're very weak up front. They don't score many goals. They're in terrible form. They're obviously bottom of the league right now. And I asked him if he'd heard of Scarpa, and he said, "No, who's that?" And I just laughed and said, "Oh, wait till Wednesday and you'll see who he is." So he said, "Was he a threat then?" I said, "Well, you do your research and then have a look." So they don't know he's coming. I'd play him for that factor. I would think that the management know of Scarpa, Nathan Jones and his crew. I would imagine that. But he's got a choice, hasn't he? He can play him on the right. He can play him on the left. I don't think he'll drop MGW in the middle, but I think Awoniyi might actually, for me, potentially be the one that gives way, and they play that false 9 again with the 3, with some pace, skill, and just the amount of skill up there. But you know, I'm not a fan of the false 9. But no, I still think without him, if we played like we did against Chelsea second half, we'll storm them. They can't score, and when they go behind, what Jacob said from The Athletic is that the fans go really toxic. If we can get a goal early, their fans really turn against them. And then our fans just out singing. It'd just be amazing if we can get an early goal. I think we'll storm them tomorrow, Wednesday. Yeah.
It's quite funny. Early on this season, we've been being linked to Shea Adams, to which I said no.
They can't wait to get rid of him, mate. They can't wait to get rid of him.
You know what I was just thinking? I was thinking of the attacker. Thought, bloody hell, they've only got Shea Adams.
They wanted to sell him. They couldn't get a striker in.
Can I just say, I guarantee you, as soon as he came off for chat with you today, Dino, I bet he was straight on the phone to Paul Taylor or Dan Taylor and finding out a bit more about Scarpa, because you'll know now. You'll know now.
I didn't tell him anything about him. I just laughed and then just left it there.
Well, let's not give away what's on the video. The guys in the chat, they're going to have to wait till tomorrow to watch it. Fantastic. Can I say, though, Simon Jones, our fellow FFTVer, he rates Che Adams. And do you give any? I mean, I cussed down Sterling and he scored against us, so I'm going to let you do the cussing down, and maybe your luck's a bit better. But Che Adams, do you rate him?
No, not at all. To my mind, he's in no way I was going to say championship striker. Then I'm probably right on that. No way he's a Premier League standard striker. No. I don't. I'm not worried in the slightest. I will say now he will not score against us tomorrow. Clip it. or even Wednesday.
Is there, all right, and let's take it further. Is there anyone you're worried about, and you can't say Ward-Prowse, in that Southampton team that you can think may cause us a bit of a threat?
I don't even know anybody in the Southampton side.
Same as
Ward-Prowse. So no.
Same as. Yeah. I mean, I've like, if you had to put a list of players on a team that I would struggle to name, it would be from Southampton.
Yeah.
I don't have any respect for that team.
They're all non-entities, aren't they? There's nobody that sticks out, you know.
Interestingly enough, the previous manager, Jacob said, was into high press, and this manager isn't so much. So they're playing a bit more long ball. So it's interesting. I think we'll have the measure of them. They've got they've had some really bad results. I looked at the results today, but their running is very similar to ours. Not the running, sorry. The next 6 games very similar to ours, where they're playing teams in and around the bottom. They've got Man City, but I don't know whether that's in the cup or not. I'm not sure. They've got Man City second game after us.
It's not in the cup, no.
No, but so they've got Man City at home, but then they've got teams in and around us. I don't know if the chat realised our next 6 games, the games we should be getting points from, because they've teams in the bottom, so 11, 10, 11.
Again, deja vu with that though, mate, because we had this whole boring mouth, Fulham, Villa, Wolves thing. I feel
think we're different then. I think we've got more of an identity now. Yeah,
well, one half of football, we're all happy clapping away in it.
We've had a few halves, to be fair.
A few, but
A few.
that was a proper half, mate. That was a proper
was a
half
proper
of
half.
Premier League football. Ez, I'm going to chuck a few names at you. Theo Walcott, Maitland-Niles,
No,
Joe Aribo.
that's the only one. That's the only one I would have picked out because there was talk
Walcott's
of him coming
injured.
to Forest. Injured.
Walcott's
Walcott.
confirmed
No,
today.
so Joe Aribo, because he was linked with Forest over the summer, briefly. There wasn't, I don't think there was any firm bid put in for him, but he was one that I liked the look of. I saw him at Rangers, and he obviously that's in another Farmers League, so it's really hard to judge the players. And I think the best players in that league probably level up to the Championship level. Wouldn't quite in the Premier League, but he's one that he started off a bit slow, but he scored a few goals for them. But just looking at their fixtures, you know, they've got a bit of a run where, and the Man City game is their cup game. It's their quarterfinal in the Carabao. So they got after us, they're away to Palace. Then they've got the home tie in the cup to Man City. Everton away, home to Aston Villa. So they've got a run of games coming up similar to us where there's teams in and around them. But I think they're the most, I don't want this to come back and sting me, but I think the most get-at-able team in that bottom three, especially away from home. I've got to hope for the best because it's a game that it's not must win, but we've lost too many 6-pointers this season.
Here we go with the must win stuff again.
Yeah, well, if we hadn't lost the games to Bournemouth, especially at home, and Fulham, and away in the manner that we lost them, this game maybe a draw would have been enough. But I do feel like a win is needed. I think a win is needed on Wednesday.
They're bottom of the league. They're in worse form than us. We should be going there positive.
They're fragile.
And
you know?
Kyle mentioned just another player that Jacob mentioned. Kyle's mentioned him in the chat. Labia, the defensive midfielder, looks really good.
I beg your pardon. What's his name?
He's somebody that Jacob really wants to interview because he don't think he'll be there long because he's too talented.
Oh, really?
Stop giving away tomorrow's.
Yeah.
There's so much content there.
You guys are going to love it. And I love asking you this question. Is it must win?
No. Oh, you want
It's
more?
at the end of it, yeah.
No, it's not. There's no, I've said there's no such thing as must win. No,
I remember shutting you up with that line, though.
Yeah, which you were wrong in, obviously.
Yeah, until it's the end of the season and you must win, then it's must win. No, how could it be a must win? There's still how many games left? 25 games left or something?
Okay, well, all right. Let me ask you a better question for you then, right? Are you worried that our away form will carry on at, I was going to say Old Trafford, St. Mary's, or do you think we can switch this? Because you can't just switch it on and off. There's definitely a mentality thing. Is there a worry that we play with that fear, that lack of identity and what have you away from home on Wednesday? It's a question we have to ask because we can't just keep getting our hopes up. One decent game and then a run of 3 or 4 crappy games. Yeah. Is that playing on your mind, or are we going into this lighting the cigar fully confident?
Well, it's a really good question because logically
you'd
say, well, it's all right. Logically, you'd say, well, there's no reason to believe having scored 1 goal all season away from home and being crap all season away from home, all of a sudden it's going to turn around. But then you watch us play that second half against Chelsea, you think, hey, we can play some good stuff here. And Southampton are really poor. So yeah, of course we can go down to Southampton and win. So it's a really tricky one. I'm a Forest fan. Of course I believe that we're going to go down there. Yeah, did I mention that? Of course I think we can go down there and win. Absolutely. And that's that's all I can answer because I'm a fan, you know. If I was an opposing fan, I might think differently, but I just think we can win. Illogical though that may be, there's no sort of foundation for that. I haven't seen how crap we've been away, but that's how I feel.
Dina, are you worried at all that our away form will haunt us?
No, I don't. I think if Cooper looks at the second half of Chelsea and looks at the first half and go, okay, I made some mistakes here. We've got nothing to lose. We've had nothing away all season. Let's just attack. like we did, and I think the away form will be good.
But do you think he
you know,
will? Do you think? Because do you think Cooper's going to look at this and think, if we lose, we're bottom of the league? I mean, that's the big thing that we're forgetting. It's all, we're saying, oh, we're going to go. If we lose, we're bottom of the league. Cooper has been cautious this season. You can't deny that, right? Does he go there thinking a draw? Let's low block him and counter attack him away from home against someone who's below us to keep him below us is the right approach or not?
Well, we've got 14 points from 17 games, so the logic says every year that you need a point per game to kind of be around the you're safe, like 38, 40 points, and you're okay. So is it a must-win game? No. But how many times are we going to have to say this time after time after time? Southampton are in crap form. The fans are against them. They've got a manager that hasn't had a new manager bounce like most clubs do when they change manager. I've had insight from one of their major people that they are just don't know where the next goal's coming from. They don't score many. The fans are toxic at home. They soon get on the back. Why shouldn't we go and absolutely slaughter them? If we can't beat teams like this, then we're not going to go away to the Man Uniteds like, we suffered with last week. Yeah. And the Liverpools and the Chelseas and the Man Cities and enjoy. We've got to beat teams like this to give us a bit of a buffer for when we do get turned over, because we will still get turned over this season, no doubt. But all we need to do is finish 17th this year and then take stock and then move on next year, where we're not buying 23 players in the summer. You would hope.
Is he worried about Nathan Jones? I remember that trip.
But I do think he's relevant to be brought up, because Cooper and him have obviously gone head to head, and he knows how we play, but he knew how we played in the championship with a championship squad. I don't think that's going to benefit him on Wednesday. I don't think that's going to work in his favour. We've got to be there for the taking. What we can't afford to do is lose to them. That would be unthinkable. So we've got to come away. For me, a draw, even a draw. If you listen to Cooper's post-match from yesterday, he felt we should have won that game. So that's why we titled the show 2 points dropped, because I feel it was 2 points dropped. I think, and possibly agrees with me that we were worthy of a win yesterday. I don't think he can then afford to. I don't think he can ever afford to play for a point. That's the worst game plan you can go into any game with. You can't play for a draw. So I don't think that's on the table anyway. But I think he's got to go for the jugular. But therefore, the taking. I firmly believe that there's at least 3 or 4 teams worse than us in this league, and Southampton are definitely one of them.
Who are the others? We've
got to prove that. Well, I mean, just off the top of my head, I can't think of it. Wolves would be down there for me, unless Lopetegui.
I don't think Wolves play that bad. I really don't, and I'm worried they're going to pull some form back.
Do you know what? Their lack of a striker, and which is the case for most of us who are down there, is going to be their Achilles heel, because they have got quality players. Ruben Neves is too good for them.
How he's still there, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely, and he probably won't be there much longer. But then they've also got other players who flatter to deceive. But they have got a nucleus of a very good squad. It's whether the manager can do it. I think Southampton made a big mistake in the manager, and I hope I'm proven right, because I don't see his credentials to be be somebody who can get you out of a relegation fight. I just don't see that in him. So hopefully they've made a big mistake there, and that helps us. So, but they're one of the teams. I don't think Unai Emery is going to pull up. Again, he's not somebody that you want for a relegation battle.
They're not in a relegation battle. What, are you going to put Villa in this?
Yeah, I'm going to push Villa into it. I think they're going to drop into it. I don't see enough. If Danny Ings stays fit, but he's one striker where the problem, if it wasn't for his injury troubles, he'd be in England squad for me. He's a natural finisher. He's one that I've often wanted.
He's not fashionable enough, man.
Doesn't have to be. He scores goals, mate. He takes chances. It doesn't take him 3 chances to score a goal. He's a very lethal striker from whatever I've seen from him.
Well, they've definitely improved under Emery, haven't they? But
exactly.
Looking at the table,
12.
Yeah, and they've got 21 points. But if we're looking at what I said before about a point per game, it goes
Yeah.
right up to 13th. Leicester. So under that, that mark, we've got Leicester, Leeds, Bournemouth, Everton, West Ham, Forest, Wolves, and Southampton. There's enough there.
Yeah.
I don't think we should be setting our expectations too high this season because
Yeah.
I don't think Villa are in
dreadful
this.
first half of the season. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, and Villa were one of the worst teams we saw at the City Ground when they played us. Yeah, but are they in the relegation fight for you?
No.
No.
They're more likely to get
I could be
Europe than
wrong.
relegated. I mean, that's only an opinion, Ez. You might be perfectly right. It's just my opinion. More likely to get Europe than relegated, in my opinion. I noticed a lot of comments in the chat saying things along the line of Wolves are too good, Wolves are better than us, Wolves this, Wolves that. Listen, Wolves are where they are. They're where they are because they're crap, right? I remember many teams have gone down that people thought were too good to go down. I remember a Forest team that's been labelled the best team to ever go down. They had Des Walker, they had Stuart Pearce, they had Roy Keane, and they went down. And everybody, all through the season,
Nigel Clough.
too good. Nigel Clough, top quality players, and everybody all through the season, Forest are too good to go down. No team is ever, well, okay, Man City maybe. Yeah. When a team is down at the bottom, they're down at the bottom because they're not good. And it's not necessarily going to turn around all of a sudden. They're going to fly up the table. Might do, but it's not. You can't just say they're too good to go down. They're better. They're better than that.
I remember being in the Bridgeford end when it was Nigel Clough up front and Cloughie, and we went down. And I remember standing. The two Villa fans got in the Forest end next to me, and they went, "No, you're too good to go down, mate." And I said, "No, we're going down. We just can't score." He said, no, you're too good to go down. And we went down. Yeah.
Can you remember at times that season, Nigel Clough was playing as a centre-back for us?
Yeah, it did, yeah.
In that season, we got relegated. And it's very telling, the very last interview, post-match interview that Cloughie gave, he was asked, wasn't he, why are you going down? He goes, we weren't good enough. And Clive Tosley was questioning, and he says, and the manager, he wasn't good enough either. And he was honest, and that's as honest
fact, isn't it?
as it can be.
No, it's fact.
We just have a bit of positivity.
Home
Ice put Newcastle were on 13 points this time last season.
Yeah, Newcastle then had billionaire owners come in and they got Eddie Howe and Grimero.
Yeah, we're not short of money, you know that.
Yeah.
Marinakis
And they didn't buy that much, you know, in that
They bought Bruno.
Yeah, that I grant you that. Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't buy that. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but we ain't got billions, and we haven't got Eddie Howe. I don't care how Cooper in people are. You can't say Eddie Howe is better than Cooper. It is worse.
Did they? They didn't spend billions in that January transfer.
No, they don't. Yeah,
no,
they're doing it. They're doing it as well as you could expect them to do it. They're building it slowly, and they bought key players in. Trippier was a key signing for them.
Burn as well.
What's Dan Burn? He's a rock. You know,
is there William Bolly? He's a big guy.
Yeah, he's huge. He's another massive. I'd love to see them up against each other. Honestly, Bolly and Dan Burn.
Apparently, Burn is massive, isn't he? He drives around in a smart car. Did you know that?
I won't be surprised.
He drives around in a little smart car.
And that's what you get with the high press team. Yeah, so make sure you're following them on Twitter for weird facts like that.
Weird facts,
at
don't make any
at
difference
FFTV High Press on Twitter. And I'm interested. I've just put it out in the chat poll. Are Wolves better than Forest? 41% are saying yes, and 59% are saying no. What side are you on this? You called them crap, Ant, because the league doesn't lie. What does it say about us?
Well, we're crap as well at the minute.
Yeah.
So who's crapper?
Southampton.
No, we're talking about Wolves, mate.
Well, they are, aren't they?
Yeah, they're below us.
We're third crap.
Wait, let me just challenge you on this. Yeah,
we're third crap.
Yeah, because by that philosophy, and you would then go down the road of saying Spurs are the 5th best team in the league.
There's the anomaly. There's the anomaly.
There's the anomaly, yeah.
It's a poor league, though. Above those top few, there's not a lot to throw over the rest, is there?
Yeah.
You've got to be honest.
Yeah.
From kind of Fulham, Brighton down to
I
the
think
bottom
he mentioned that
is
if we
not a
win,
massive difference.
I think he mentioned if we win, we can certainly go 14th, can't we?
Yeah, there's not a massive
You know,
difference.
so we're all much of a muchness down there, which is always the case. And the thing that normally gets you out of those is scoring goals. And Wolves can't score goals.
It's not like we've come in this league and this 18, 17, like way better teams than us, because there's not. There's not.
No.
But if we think back just to 12 months
19.
ago, if we think back to 12 months ago, this time last year, we had an amazing January. We had a great run. We had a great run in the cup. We've got the potential with this run of fixtures in the cup and league to get a real bit of momentum going, to get some positive performances. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we get some positive. Wolves did beat us, but we owe them one.
Did you watch that game? We did miss a penalty. We did miss a penalty, you know, Mr. Collins.
We were still dire, man. We
but we
dire.
missed a penalty. You can't,
If buts and maybes, and if we had done this and done that, we would have been top of the league.
Okay,
I take it back. They were magnificent, outplayed us, and should have beaten us 6-0. I take it back.
Didn't say that. Ez, carry on. Sorry.
No, yeah. So just my point about this run of fixtures that we've got. If we have a look at it,
Liverpool, are we better than that?
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Sorry.
Right, this run of fixtures that we've got. If we have a look at it, there's some very winnable games in that. I know you can't guarantee with any, but we're not playing the top 6 teams in this run. You know, we're playing teams that we should be competing against, and we should not better than these teams. If we're not getting a decent points haul and a decent run in the cups out of this, then we're doing something wrong. Then we deserve to go down, basically. If we can't get through this next run of games up until February, where we've got a real chance to put a gap from the relegation zone, then I don't know. We'll have to reassess Cooper in, Cooper out at the end of it, I think.
Yeah. Just put Ant jumps in. Can I just say the most intelligent person, not just in the chat but on the panel, has just messaged, and it's DC. Wolverine speaks nothing but facts.
Stop
Mike, can you block him?
Mike, can you block him?
Go on, Ant, you were going to jump in.
Sorry, but this really something that really winds me up. This narrative. Wolves beaters. Did who just beat Man City? Was it Brentford? Who just beat Man City? Was it Brentford?
They beat him before the World Cup, yeah. But then
so
Man City drew with Everton.
Somebody just so they're better than Man City, are they?
It's all about off days, isn't it? It's all about off days, and we have more off days than not.
I just never get that. Teams.
No, you can't use that argument. You can't use that argument.
Yeah, I can.
No, I'm talking about him.
Yeah.
He can't use that argument because then you can't argue that Spurs aren't the 5th best team in the Premier League.
No. The statement was Wolves beaters, implying that that means that they're better than us. What I'm saying is Brentford beat Man City, so does that mean that they're better than Man City? Or
on the day, yes.
It's
on the day,
point.
yes.
When a team
but that's not the implication. The implication isn't on the day. So that they're a better team than us because they beat us.
And that's why the cup's great, because on the day anybody can beat anybody. But over a 38-game season, the wheat sorts out for the chaff, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just a ridiculous argument. I'm sorry.
All right, you got it off your chest. Good. Okay. Ez, what's the score going to be?
2-0 to us.
Okay, I'm glad you put that bit at the end.
Yeah, I know. I better speculate. Clean sheet, couple of goals. I know we haven't managed more than 1 goal away from home, but I'm hoping the curse ends and it's as good a time as any. We got to go in there positive and really take the game to them, because they are fragile and they haven't got a very good manager, in my opinion. But all this might come back to sting me on the backside. But I think we've got to go for it. We've got to go for it. There's not going to be that many away games that are going to be winnable for us this season. I did air quotes, by the way, for the guys on the podcast listening in. There's not going to be that many winnable away games left for us, and this has got to be one of them. But we've got to attack. So yeah, I'm going to hope that we come back with 3 points with a 2-0 win.
All right, guys in the chat, get your score predictions in for this one. I'm interested. Dino, Ez thinks we're going to treble our away goals on Wednesday. Do you agree, disagree? Well, do you think we would start with?
Yeah, no, I've got the same result, 2-0. I think
You
we're on a
Reds.
bit better form. They're on awful form. Their fans are toxic. Our away fans are incredible. We've got better players overall over the 11 and over the subs as well. I just think we'll have too much for them.
And
if we play like we press,
if we
I
don't,
still think we sneak a 1-0 if we don't. But if we play
okay.
and get an early goal, I think it'll be 2-0.
And
Me, yeah.
you.
As I say for I think just about every away game, if we're positive and brave, then we can win this game because we have some good players. So on that basis, I'm going to hope, especially for Ez and all the guys going down there, I'm going to hope for a positive result. I'm going to go for 1-0.
1-0. I might bring up these scores from the chat as they're putting them in. I think I'm a little worried we're getting a bit too overconfident on this one. I'm the cockiest that there's gonna be, right?
Scarpa hat trick.
Oh, I forgot about him for a second.
Yeah,
exactly. I forgot about him for a second.
Now put Scarpa into the mix and answer the question.
Yeah, but he's not going to start him, is he? He's not going to start him.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I want to be cocky Wolverine and say like 5-0. But then I get flashbacks of boring mouth Fulham, Villa, Wolves. But Scarpa is the X factor, isn't he? And I don't want to put pressure on him. My God, but am I going to put pressure on him on tomorrow's video? The poor guy. Okay, I'm going to go 4-0.
4-0 over the top.
I'm gonna do it. The cocky Wolverine is back. I'm holding on to that 45 second half minutes beautiful performance yesterday. I'm gonna blank out what happened in the first half.
Right.
And I'm gonna go 4-0.
It's easy for Ant and I to do because we're old. We can blank out things in recent history. Really, I'd be interested to see what Simon Jones says because he's coming up in the chat saying it's going to be tough. So what's Si predicting?
I don't know. I just think you've got a very good point because Ant couldn't even remember there was music at the start of the vlog today. As you haven't watched the vlog.
There you go,
if you haven't seen the vlog for yesterday's match, it's up and it's on the channel. But I'm gonna. You know what? I want to see a 4-0. Simon's gone for a 1-0. Is that for them or us?
Not for them or us, yeah, because we're away. So that
0-1. 0-1 is gone for. So it's us.
To them.
To us.
Okay.
I've got to say, Ant was right against Man U, wasn't he? He said 3-0.
Yeah, I got to say.
What did you say against Chelsea?
You got it right in the predictor league.
He can't remember.
I said 1-1.
Yeah, you said 1-1.
I forgot that he was old. He forgot what he said. It's just like blind leading the blind.
Can I just touch on Matt's point? This is a huge point of importance. This bloody goal difference is getting stupid now, right? We're at what? -22. 22, nearest ones to us a boring mouth on -18. We need a big slapping. If we can slap them 4 or 5-0, they're on, what are they? -17. That turns it in our favor. That goal difference is a point. Is 1 point at the end of the season. Like it or lump it, we need that extra point there. So I'm with Matt on that. We got to smash him. What did Sharky say? Form saying Southampton -1, Forest -1.
Brilliant.
Bring that one up. Cool. All right. We've had the predictions. We're all feeling cocky after the 45 minutes yesterday. We should have smashed Chelsea.
That's all we need. 45 minutes.
45 minutes. Let's smash them. Get into them hard. We've got 2 to 3, maybe 6 videos coming out tomorrow on the channel. So make sure you're subscribed on it. We'll be back for that and the watch along, and we'll be sending out our FFTV stuff to Southampton. Please do hit the like before you leave. We're going to wrap up there. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and we'll catch you on all the content tomorrow and all this week. There's a crazy amount. Look out for the video with the Athletic tomorrow. You're going to absolutely love it. Thank you for watching, and come on, you Reds.
Come on, you Reds.
You.